Hi, welcome to the Bright Hub. This is for all people in Central that haven't been here yet. We have our office space, which is shared with support services. Down the back we have our public meeting space and kitchen. And just behind you here we have a beautiful waiting space where we get community members coming in and catching up. And through here we have two private confidential meeting rooms. And at the back we have our kitchen space. So this is for everybody just to see our fantastic hub space. So I'm just going to pop over to my desk and start some CRM case notes, and then I'm going to hit the road with you and meet you. Harrietville. It's at the base of Mount Hotham. Harrietville had fires in 2000. It's actually had many bushfires preceding years. We're just going to go and meet a few community members. Hopefully they're out and about today, and I'll give you a good example of meeting some community connectors and what BRV does best out in the community. Footage of me talking to Fiona Laird. Fiona Laird runs the coffee cart in Harrietville. She's also a member of the Alpine CRC. So Fiona is a community connector. She's someone that I will link up with on a weekly basis. I'll come up and talk with her, have a coffee. She's been very crucial to BRV instigating mental health support services and rural outreach. Without our connection with local community members like Fee, we wouldn't be providing the fantastic service we are. As a wellbeing support officer, I've been able to work really closely with Fee to ensure that rural health, mental health outreach services have been established in the community, and also funding has been provided for community events, and also enabling marginalised or hard to reach community members to seek supports through members and community links like Fiona. Fiona has a really interesting case. Not only was she here during the 2000 bushfires, but her business has suffered drastically due to COVID. Also, Fee's house burnt down earlier in the year, a big portion of her home. So through our connections with BRV, we were able to provide additional support. Fee didn't have insurance for her home because of the higher additional cost due to living in a bushfire area. So Fee is a real life living experience of living in a small community with now the limitations of bushfire affected communities. Just from my catch up with Fee today, I got an opportunity to talk to her about a couple of community members that are suffering mental health issues and needing link-ins to support. So I'll be heading back to the hub to make some connections with professional rural health outreach workers to ensure that these community members are getting the supports that BRV provides. So while we're in Harrietville, I thought I'd take the opportunity to quickly show you the Harrietville Hall behind me. A Harrietville community applied for an LER grant and they were successful, and that will include over $500,000 extension to the Harrietville Hall. So it's a good opportunity to have a good look at the before, and when you're able to come up and visit us in the beautiful Alpine Valleys, you'll be able to come and see, hopefully in the next 12 months, the extension of the Harrietville Hall. On October the 23rd, we're hoping to support the Harrietville community having a community get together. They've called this community get together We've Survived, and they're going to have mental health services. They're also wanting to have a bush dance and music and a general congregation of community to celebrate. Thank you everyone for joining me today for a small snapshot of a day in the life of a wellbeing support officer in Alpine. Hope you've enjoyed the community experience and some of the scenery that's been shot today by my GoPro assistant, my son Archer Melkin. Might bring some joy to your day in lockdown in Melbourne. And I thought what a better opportunity to quickly show off my beautiful magnolia tree. And thank you BRV team, I love my job and I hope you've learnt something today. Take care, bye.
My name's Glyn Jones. I'm a Wellbeing Support Officer with Bushfire Recovery Victoria in East Gippsland. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to discuss with you the Wellbeing Support Officer role of working in partnership. Partnership with our BRV colleagues, allied agencies, staff, our local CRCs, to fulfil our brief of engaging and supporting difficult and hard to reach individuals, families and communities. Now, some of the photographs you're seeing on screen show that our working area is ruggedly beautiful and that some of the roads we travel on to reach those difficult and hard to reach communities requires attentive driving skills, particularly when dodging logging trucks along the twisting and winding Bonang Highway. As you know, our working area is huge. East Gippsland covers 31,740 square kilometres. The Tawong Alpine LGA equates to 11,643 square kilometres. 3 WSOs cover the area in East Gippsland from Bairnsdale to Malakuta. 234 kilometres taking in many outlying communities such as Bendock, Tubbut, Tambo Crossing, Bonang and Club Terrace. 3 WSOs cover the Tawong Alpine LGAs, outlying communities including Middleford, Mount Beauty, Wallawong, etc. Sadly, during the Black Summer bushfires, more than half of East Gippsland was burnt, and in the Tawong Alpine LGAs, 187,000 hectares were lost to the fires. In very real terms, this equates to a lot of loss, trauma and support needs for individuals, families and communities. WSOs have learned that the only way to make inroads into all of this is by working in partnership, respectful, collaborative partnership. We've learned also that the people of East Gippsland and the Alpine areas, particularly in the rural communities, are very independent, self-reliant, less likely to reach out to services. Services, therefore, need to go out to them, get to know them, earn their trust before they will engage with us. Fortunately, a lot of the initial work in connecting with community had already been done by our hub coordinator colleagues. To a large extent, our hub coordinator colleagues introduced us to community. Since October 2020, in order to fulfil our brief, WSOs have partnered with services such as the Shire of East Gippsland, Tawong Shire Council, the Victorian Aboriginal Childcare Agency, Bush Nursing Centres, Corryong Health, Red Cross, Royal Flying Doctors, Anglicare, Save the Children, to name but a few. Via those partnerships, WSOs have enabled and supported residents and outlying communities, providing trauma-informed support, counselling, case coordination, advocacy and psychoeducation. More about this from Fiona shortly. Also, specifically, for example, working in partnership, WSOs in conjunction with Corryong Neighbourhood House have run youth-specific initiatives and men's health evenings. In Carn River, in partnership with the Bush Nursing Centre, a man support group has been established and other men support groups in the pipeline. In Malakuta, incidental counselling training has been initiated for community members and business owners. Working in partnership, therefore, it's an essential part of the work of WSOs in East Gippsland and in the Alpine areas. Now that's my bit. And I'm going to hand over to Fiona.
It's 7:30 a.m. and I'm just about to leave home and head to Buchan to do some outreach work with the bush nurses today. I need to backtrack a little to pick up a car at Sarsfield. This is a Sarsfield hub. Colleen runs a pretty tight ship here. It's a great place to provide support to community. Sometimes I see people in this room, but if the weather is nice, we take advantage of sitting outside. It's about a 40-minute drive to Buchan from Sarsfield. I tell you what, it's great to see the landscape regenerating after the fires. Just on the outskirts of Buchan, on Easter Sunday, they hold the Buchan Rodeo. Rural communities love their community events like the Kenai Creek races and their football. I've got a couple of spare minutes, so I'll drop in at the Buchan Hub to give you a quick tour. If you're ever up this way, I'm pretty sure Rebecca would be happy to show you around. This is the main office. Sometimes I use this room or one of the other offices, like this one, to see people when providing wellbeing support. I arrive at the Buchan Bush Nursing Centre at 9:30 a.m. Susie and Dale are on duty today. Anne is busy in meetings most of the day. A quick catch-up, then Susie and I head out on the road. Now, I've changed people's names and have not included too much detail about their lives to protect their identity and privacy. We leave Buchan about 10 a.m. and our first visit is with Bob and Sally. Their home was destroyed in the fire and they are living in temporary dwelling on their property. During our last visit a few months ago, they were in the planning phase of the rebuild process. It was an extremely distressing time. However, this time we were welcomed with big smiles and an eagerness to show us around their not quite finished, newly built home. After a good chat, which lasted well over an hour, we jump in the car to visit our next couple. We are greeted by John. Not long after introductions, he starts talking about his terrifying experience during the firestorm, occasionally shifting his attention to highlight features on the landscape. He finishes telling his story and, almost surprised, says to himself, "I haven't talked about what happened for a long time." They lost everything but a shed. Not long after, his partner comes outside to join us, and we talk a little further about how things are going. It appears that some people are yet to start the rebuild process. We head back to the centre at 1 p.m, have a quick bite to eat and touch base with Tracy and Dale, and back out on the road again. Our next visit was for about half an hour. Quick check in and a yarn about how things were going. Jack was pretty pleased with his short-term modular home and was getting some help with fencing today. Hence the story of seeing 2 red-bellied black snakes today down the paddock. Back to Buchan, and we call in to see Tom. Tom's an elderly gentleman who has some chronic health issues. Last visit, he told me his story of evacuation and being away from Buchan, and the loss of the family farm in the fire. Dale was surprised, because for the last 12 months he had been visiting Tom regularly, and he had not talked about what had happened. This time, Tom wasn't doing too well health-wise. We talked about how he was feeling, and Susie was able to assist with his health concerns. We also arranged some follow-up. 3:30 p.m, back to the centre. We have a bit of a debrief, make some plans for the next fortnight, and say our farewells. I head back to Sarsfield and drop the car off and arrive home at Meetung a bit after 5 p.m. In summary, outreach support and trauma-informed care, which seeks to create a safe environment for people, is critical in disaster recovery. In our work today, I'd like to highlight 3 important aspects of our approach. Trust, earned and demonstrated over time through relationship. The bush nurses Anne, Dale and Susie knew who we needed to check in on, and by working collaboratively, it greatly facilitated opportunities for wellbeing support. Safety, the relationship and the physical environment, so their place, home and landscape. We were able to visit community members in a place that felt familiar, safe and predictable for them. And routine. It's culturally accepted for the bush nurses to drop by. And finally, choice. An opportunity to direct the topic of conversation or explore their own unique experiences if they choose to. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Mike Amos. I'm a Wellbeing Support Officer in Malakuta. I'm based here and I live here. I also work in the Cairn Valley. And as Glyn mentioned earlier, I'm part of the men's group that we run here in Malakuta and also in Cairn River. I wanted to talk a little bit today, though, about another group we've been running, which is called Connect and Share. These events have allowed people to get together. Essentially, it's a shared experience group. People who have lost their properties, lost homes during the fires, have been able to get together and share their experiences around whether it be the event itself or if it's actually the process of rebuilding or what they might be doing. These events have allowed people to share that together and therefore be able to heal, or at least get onto the path of healing. Is the idea of the groups. This was an identified need through speaking with and having partnerships with the Royal Flying Doctors Service and other services in town that help people with their recovery. Also the Red Cross have been involved and the Salvation Army. We got a working group together which was part of the Community Wellbeing Working Group that I chair, and that's part of the CRC, which is MADRA in Malakuta. Part of that group, we talk about needs in community and advocate for help and change. This particular social connection group, Connect and Share, initially the first one we had was we had some music on, we put a dinner on, had it catered, had people, had a choir come in actually as well and do some singing. There was tears and laughter and everything in between. As the first sort of event. Obviously with COVID it's been challenging to get people together over the past couple of years as well, but this has been a space where people can do that. The second event also went very well. Just before one of the lockdowns, we managed to get another group together at the golf club down here in Malakuta, and again it was just a space for people to get together and talk. On my side of things, being able to get people some psychosocial supports and talk with those who need some extra help, also being able to refer them on to different services for counselling. That can be really valuable as well. We're going to now just quickly look at some quotes that we got back from some people that attended the groups. They certainly enjoyed it. The laughter and the tears, the hugs and conversations was precious. I love that one myself. And obviously being connected to community here, it's great to be able to see people getting to a point where they can move to the next stage of recovery and hopefully rebuild their homes if they've lost homes. Otherwise, getting on to a different stage in their life where things can be a bit different than the trauma that has affected community here. I'm just going to pass on to Jodie now, and she's going to do a wellbeing activity and a bit of a reflection.
Hi, I'm Jodie. I want to start by thinking about well-being. What does the word well-being mean to you? If you like, you can write your answers in the chat, and while you reflect on that, here's a nice tranquil scene for you to reflect on for a moment or two. So you can see by everyone's replies that what we consider well-being to be is really quite varied. One definition of well-being says that it's the state of being comfortable, healthy, or happy. It could also be described as not just the absence of disease or illness, but it's a complex combination of a person's physical, mental, emotional, and social health factors. The pandemic has changed a lot of things for us, including the way we work. I'm mindful that we've all been flooded with messages about mental health and well-being lately, and it comes to a point where we zone out and no longer hear the messages. So instead, what I'm going to do is share some of the ways that the BRV Wellbeing Support Officers look after our own well-being, and whether you call that self-care, systems maintenance, looking after your well-being, or something else, it all comes back to the saying that you can't pour from an empty cup. So the next slide is some of the things that we do to look after our well-being. Having something to look forward to, burning essential oils, having a bath, fishing, motorbike riding, reading, long walks and listening to podcasts, talking to someone, having connections with other staff just to check in. A study in 2020 found that the most powerful thing we can do is to confide in others. It found that social connection is the strongest protective factor for depression, and the most prominent of these factors was frequency of confiding in others. We also find that having routines and rituals are really important to take care of ourselves. So we close the door to the office at the end of the day. Sometimes it might mean taking your work clothes off and changing to your civvies, turning your work phone off at the end of the work week, something to signal that work is over and you can reconnect with your own world. So what about when things aren't going so well? How do you know what's normal ups and downs and what needs some more help? Some things to look out for would be changes in behaviour, those feelings and emotions, especially feeling overwhelmed, guilty, irritable. If you find you're having unhelpful thoughts, and physical symptoms, things like frequent headaches, feeling tired all the time and having trouble sleeping. So who can help? Your GP is always a good place to start, and of course we're really familiar with the other numbers that are publicised often. So that brings us to the end of the Wellbeing Support Officer presentation. Are there any questions from anybody?